Mute yourself. Mute yourself.
Mute me. Okay. Are they talking? What's up here? What's this?
I want to test to see if you can hear us. Can you hear us?
Out in the parking lot.
Mr. Perez, can you hear me? This is Steve. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Good afternoon, folks.
Hello, Dion.
There.
How are you guys all doing this evening?
Doing good.
Everybody
Doing
good? Hello,
Good,
Lisa.
good.
I see Principal Hernandez and Principal Griego. First Yvonne is okay. She was on last time.
Emily, was that you texting me, making sure I was gonna be here?
No, that was Ron.
That one, huh? Such sweet words, Ron. Very sweet words.
Thank you. I'm glad you think so.
Well, that's why I thought it was Emily, but now that she told me it was you,
Well, you know Emily already.
I figured it was Emily, but now that I know it's you.
Only time will tell, Dan. You know,
I
Richard,
bet you're ready for the long weekend, huh, Max?
Yes, sir.
I think we could all use it.
Yeah.
Richard gonna be joining us this evening?
that was what I was just asking you. Do you know if he's coming?
Or-
No, I don't. Usually he should be logging in any
Any minute.
now.
As far as we know,
You got
He'll be-
5 minutes. So.
signing in. Oh,
Emily. Emily. Ron?
yeah.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. I just couldn't hear nothing. I was kind of wondering.
Good evening, Richard.
Hey, Richard's here.
Okay, good evening.
Hello, Richard.
1 minute.
Feeling up? Yeah.
I think we're all here, Emily.
Okay,
Or have them sign in by
We're here.
email.
just waiting for the time, 5:29. For everybody.
On time.
Call this meeting to order. Let's do the pledge of allegiance. At 6:30.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Get Dower Street, Josh. I'm going to ask with the superintendent if there's any changes to the agenda.
Okay, good evening, Madam Chair, board members, audience. Madam Chair, the only change to the agenda is on announcements C. That date should not be October 10th. It should be October 12th. for Indigenous People Day. And then also tomorrow is September 2nd, I believe. And that is a cultural day. And with those, with that being acknowledged, I recommend that the agenda be approved
As amended,
as amended.
I hear a motion,
So move.
hear a second.
Second.
Agenda has been approved, motion by Dion, seconded by Ron. Here a vote, everybody say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Forward. Okay, are there any changes to the minutes of August 18th? If so, what?
Madam Chair, I recommend that we approve the minutes of August 18th as presented.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Hear a second?
Second.
Second by Ron. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, let's going to the agenda. We're looking at number 4, recognitions. Superintendent,
Okay, yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, audience, want to continue to recognize all the hard work by the teachers out there, the cooks, custodians, bus drivers, staff. I hate to single anyone out because I know a lot of people are putting a lot of effort into the challenges we have through the changes that we're all going through. So I encourage, thank you for everybody, what you're doing for the students in the district in the best way that you can. I do want to make a mention, and later on, Dr. Mickey Best will be on the agenda, but I would like to recognize all the efforts that he has put into the community and education of the people of this community. And anyway, I'm sure we'll talk some more, Dr. Best, but do want to acknowledge and thank you for all the services that you've provided for the Grand Cebolla County. So with that, Madam Chair, I'd like to move on.
okay, that concludes recognition. Okay, any citizens to address the board?
Madam Chair, there are no requests for citizens to address the board at this time.
think-
I would like to make a comment there if I could, Madam Chair. You know, if anybody on here, if anybody requests, if anybody would like to speak to the board as a citizen to address the board at this part of the agenda, at any of the board meetings, there's always some instructions and direction on the posting. So if you could call the number there or email ahead of time, I believe it's a day before the board meeting, we can organize that and make sure that you are able to address the board as a citizen. So
Thank you, Superintendent. The directions are there to call the Monday by 2:00 p.m. so that they can get the necessary forms filled out, and then you would be able to address the board. Thank you, Superintendent. Now let's move on to the agenda presentations.
yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, it's always a pleasure to share or have the school sites share, because they are right there dealing with the students. I was going to say face-to-face, but that's not really the case right now. But there's a lot of good work going on at the schools. As you've seen, some of the schools presented last board meeting. And this evening, I've asked a couple of additional schools to share give the board and the public an idea of some of the things that are happening at the school sites. And this evening, I'd like to start with Mesa View Elementary, Principal Griego and Assistant Principal Armio are here. And I think you might have a PowerPoint, and you all can share the screen at any time.
So who's the principal, Mesa?
Or do-
Ms. Griego?
Are you going to share it? Or
So can you guys see that?
Okay, yes?
yes.
Yes.
Okay. So again, I am Jennifer Grego, principal at Mesa View Elementary School. Also, we have Reyes Jaramillo, assistant principal, and to my left, I have Adriana Hunter, our school counselor. So we have a short little PowerPoint that we'd like to share with you. Again, welcome to Mesa View Elementary School. If you take a quick little look here on the bottom of our first little screen here, this is an example of some of our students that come to the school every morning that share the parking lot Wi-Fi. This family that shows up every morning, they do not have a vehicle, so we have been able to put out a table for them to share the parking lot Wi-Fi. It's one of our struggles. Here's some of the topics we are going to cover. We will go over our mission statement and our DASH goals for Mesa View. We will let you know who's new at our school this year. Give you an update on our student and staff numbers. We will go over a couple of the current status things that we have going on at Mesa View. Then our counselor, Adriana Hunter, she will go over a couple of the projects that she has in place. I have a little clip from the PE teacher, some of his requirements, and then you'll get a quick little view of some of the virtual classrooms. So our mission statement for Mesa View is changing the future one mind at a time. Our vision at Mesa View Elementary School is to develop a partnership with the parents and community to ensure that all students develop a strong educational foundation, learn basic skills, strengthen their moral character, and become responsible citizens. Our DASH goals, after having a really quick end of year review with staff members, staff leadership team, we have come up with 3 goals for Mesa View. We are working on data-driven instruction, Tier 1 interventions, and school leadership and systems. We have some new staff at Mesa View Elementary School. We have Gilbert Mendoza. He is a new 6th grade teacher. We have Sydney Carpenter. She is a 5th grade teacher. We have Deidre Gruber. She is a new pre-K teacher. And we have Miss Taryn Perkins, a new 4th grade teacher. Right next to that is a matrix with all of the students that we have so far at Mesa View. You can see we have, when I did this PowerPoint here, we had 456 students in attendance at Mesa View Elementary School. As of today, that number may have dropped, I'm going to say about 4 students, but our staff has remained very steady. We have 59 staff members presently working at Mesa View Elementary School. That includes teachers, educational assistants, custodians, adult supervisors, Title VII educational assistants, health assistants, cafeteria workers, custodians, and all of our office staff. Here is our current status. So far, we have distributed over 249 laptops, Chromebooks, and desktops, computers to families in need. We have received 27 new smartboards for every classroom. Every one of our classrooms, from our 3Y to our PE teacher, have received a smart board. And we also received new student desks, chairs, teacher desks, and chairs and work tables for 15 classrooms. The picture on the bottom represents what the new classrooms look like with the student chairs and the work tables. And that's an example of our new smart boards that our teachers have been able to use this year. Right now, we have about 377 out of our 456 student population participating virtually, which is equivalent to about 82% of our total population. At present time, 100% of our teachers are teaching virtually using Google Classroom or Zoom. And then within the 18% of the student population not connected virtually, teachers and staff are delivering packets, and some are also making home visits. Right now, we have about 5 families that we have not been successful in making contact with, and we may need to drop them from our school roster. We are exhausting every emergency contact number possible. And I think out of those 5 families, we are down to 1 that is not returning. So every day we are trying to clean up our roster. Next, I'm going to let Mrs. Hunter talk about her counseling plan for this year.
Okay, so with the counseling plan this year, every year I kind of go through and I make a detailed plan that's data driven on different programs that we could implement in the school, preventative stuff. So looking at this, some of the programs that I do is a social skills group, and that is still going on. Right now, I want to make sure that everything is as normal as possible as what we can make it for the kids. And so I'm continuing with every program that I implemented last year, and plus we added a new one this year as well. So the social skills group really focuses on our behavior kids that we have, the ones that are inattentive in class, maybe the ones that need emotional support, the ones that aren't motivated to do their schoolwork, and they're referred by their parent or the teacher. And I have them sign a consent form, and I'll do various activities with them. And I also track their behavior and monitor it with the teachers and with our principals as well to see if that is helping. If social skills group doesn't help, usually I do, I talk to Ms. Grego or Mr. Jaramillo, and they'll be, referred for disciplinary actions as needed, or oftentimes we try and bring in a parent meeting to try and resolve some of those behaviors. Last year we had a cheer camp set to happen. However, COVID happened and we weren't able to do that. And so what we're doing is a virtual cheer camp. And so it's going to be non-contact. I have a couple of little leaders last year that attended the board meeting, and I've been doing Zoom meetings with them, and they have been really working hard, and they're coming up with cheers and dances, and they're recording themselves on little videos. And we're going to be sending that out to the families that are going to be participating in the cheer camp. And so I think that will be really fun and neat. It's going to be something for the kids to do. We're going to plan for a Zoom performance where they'll all be on and be able to perform for that. And so we're really looking forward to that happening. It's going to start towards the end of September. So I have my own Google Classroom for each grade level, and I'm still doing guidance lessons. So depending on what the behaviors are generally in the month with the kids we have, and also feedback from the staff, I go into the classrooms and I provide social emotional lessons to the kids and talk to them about various things that are going on. For example, this month for August, we focused on goals and motivation and reasons for establishing goals for the future and why it's important to do that. And so I set up a time for the kids, and they'll get onto Google Meets and they'll meet with me. And we discuss those things. We talk about it and what are the barriers to those things that might happen to them. And a lot of the kids really get into it and they really enjoy doing that. I did it with second and third graders and they did awesome. That's the group I think I had the most participation with. And they were really on that one as well. Another thing that is important to implement, I think, is social change. And that was something that I spoke with all the kids about on guidance lessons. And social change is, you know, changing the things in our community, in our school, you know, that kind of need to be changed. Things that, you know, a lot of the kids focus on bullying and peer conflict, but we focus on that a lot and we focus on it every year. I think it's important that we talk to the kids about what they can be doing in their neighborhoods and what else they could be doing to make our school a better place. And that's something that I'm going to be continuously implementing this year and over the future years as well. Some of the kids said that, you know, something as little as picking up trash in the school or at home, or even just being nice and asking people how they're doing is an example of social change. So I'm really proud of the kids for doing that. And second and third graders were the ones that gave the examples for those. So at the end of every month, I do data tracking. And so every kid that I see, I track their data and what I saw them for. So I keep documentation of every kid that I saw. And at the end of every month, I distribute that information to the principals so that way they can view it. And if we have so much of an incident going on with the kid, for example, hygiene, for example, or I've had, you know, 15 kids come in for hygiene for the month, I could go into the classrooms and talk to the kids about their hygiene. And generally it's helped quite a bit. Some of the other things that I do as well is I'll have a survey that I create that I distribute to the teachers. That way they give me some feedback to see if my lesson helped the kids in the class and if they had any progress with it and what I need to do to tweak that lesson to make it better for next time as well. So I have a small caseload of kids that I see that continuously have social and emotional concerns that are related to school, especially now with everyone being at home. A lot of the kids are experiencing a lot of anxiety, a lot of things with, you know, the various places closing down, for example, the refinery. I have a couple of girls on my caseload that are having a hard time with that because they don't know if they're going to have to move or not, and they've lived here their whole life. And so I'm talking to the kids about that as well, you know, giving them some education on what anxiety feels like. One of the girls, she's experienced, you know, physical symptoms where she's having tummy aches. And so I'm working with the family to try and get her the resources as needed. So I focus on brief solution focused therapy. And so that is me looking at the problem and seeing what I can do to help that problem get fixed. If I find that the student needs more counseling or they have like a real in-depth issue, that's whenever we collaborate with outside resources and give the referral to them so that way they could get that care. So this is an example of my my Google Classroom. You can see right there with my picture, every month I'll put in a guidance lesson. I'm also doing little fun social activities in there for the kids since they're not getting that in-person social involvement. And so I'll put fun activities on there for the kids to do with their families or with another classmate when they have time to do those things. And so that's an example of the tracker that I do every month that I distribute to the principals so they can see kind of what I'm doing. So I'm really proud. This month I've seen 40 kids over Google Meets or over the phone. Most of those, I would say probably a good 80% of those has been over Google Meets that I've been able to see the kids face to face, and they've been pretty happy to see me. And so as you can see, a lot of the kids are experiencing this month, anxiety and mood swings is a really big one for the kids. And I think they're just trying to adjust, you know, to being home and doing all their work and stuff online, and also with the parents home working, and there's other kids and distractions in the house. I'm working with the kids and the families to help minimize distractions so that way the kids can be successful.
This right here is just a little example of one of the criteria that our PE teacher has out for his students. It's kind of a general template that he has students to work on at their own discretion or their own time, because right now we've been very flexible with our scheduling. Our teachers have rearranged their classrooms probably every week after they've assessed their instruction and the student and parent needs. So Mr. Bennett has kind of just put out a blank thing for the students to accomplish certain things. Like right here on this one, he has 5 different things that the students need to accomplish. Right now, he has them just working on basic things like doing push-ups and a couple of other exercises. But he also does have meetings every day, different times like 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, and then again in the afternoon, 1:30 to 2:30, where if the teacher has not designated a time for them to meet with Mr. Bennett and they are not in the classroom, they can meet with him and they can go over anything that he finds, I guess the student population to meet their needs. So that is what Mr. Bennett is doing right now. His next step plans are to put out videos for each grade level to differentiate it a little bit more in depth. Here are some pictures of our Google Classrooms. Up in the left corner, this is a 2nd grade classroom with Mrs. Bratzel. Down on the bottom is Mrs. Garcia. She is an educational assistant. She also observes in the Google Classroom. In the middle, we have Mrs. Pena in a kindergarten classroom. And then on the right, we have Mrs. Aragon and Mrs. Hawker in a 1st grade classroom. Here are some more pictures. We have up on the left, Mrs. Salazar, a 3rd grade classroom. Below hers is Mrs. Taryn Perkins. She is a 4th grade teacher. In the middle is Mrs. Emerson and her assistant, Mrs. Brenda Garcia, in a kindergarten classroom. And then on the right is another one of our brand new teachers, Mrs. Sydney Carpenter, doing her Google Classrooms. So if you notice anything, there are no kids. This is one thing I think in an elementary school, we are so desperately missing. The Google Classrooms and the smart boards have helped us out, but there is nothing like having the kids in the building. And that is all I have for our presentation. I don't know if Mr. Jaramillo is on, if he'd like to share anything before we close our presentation.
Yes, good evening, members of the board. I just want to share that over the past 3 weeks that I have been able to join in on almost every teacher's virtual learning. And I want to share the sentiment that the staff at Mesa View is doing an amazing job at reaching and ensuring that all the students get a quality education, even during these times. They're taking the hard work and challenges ahead of them, and they're being flexible and meeting and exceeding our expectations every day. So I did want to share that.
Okay, board, do we have any questions for the group from Mesa View? I might comment that, do you ever have any connectivity problems or any of the teachers in meeting with their students or getting assignments in?
Yes, we have daily things that happen within the classroom with their smart boards. I think Mr. Jaramillo and I have learned a lot about those smart boards, how to hardwire every smart board, make sure how to do a speed test on all those smart boards. We are in there as often as possible to troubleshoot. And then we also have parents bringing in their devices if they are having issues at home. We try to help them out first over the phone, And then if we are unsuccessful, we always ask them to bring them in. I think pretty soon we're going to be tech savvy.
What about attendance?
Our attendance has gotten better over time. We kind of waited the first 2 weeks. We had with connectivity and parents with devices. This past week, and then again on this week, we have our EWS person calling families and checking in on them, reminding them that they need to be in attendance for morning and afternoon Google Meets. I think we're down to just a handful of parents. And then again on Tuesday, with the support of one of the security staff from the high school, he and I are going to go do a couple of home visits. We are every day working on our attendance.
Good, thank you. I think you two also might acknowledge the young family that comes in every morning and sits outside in the parking lot. Give them a little certificate or a gold star or something.
Yes, we are. Yes, that's all I can ask for. Like I said, they don't have a vehicle, so in order to enjoy the parking lot free Wi-Fi, we provide them a table. So I am glad that they are there every morning.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. And keep up the good work. So let's move on.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Griego and Ms. Hunter, Mr. Jaramillo, and then all your staff. Appreciate all your hard work through these times. And you're making it work, and it's not perfect, but we appreciate the continuous effort. We know it's not easy, but you're making it happen, making it work. So thank you all.
Any more comments, board? Thank you, Mesa View staff, and let's move on to Cabero and Cebolleta.
Okay, next, yeah, Madam Chair, board members and audience, we have our new principal, Ms. Lisa Hernandez, here with some of her staff to share some of the things that are happening at Cabero and Cebolleta Elementary. Welcome, everyone.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Superintendent Perez, and board members. As Mr. Perez introduced me, my name's Lisa Hernandez. I'm the principal here at Cabero Elementary and Cebolleta Elementary. And it's with great pleasure to present a short presentation that will reflect the virtual classrooms that are happening at both of our campuses. I'm going to share my screen at this time. I hope you enjoy our presentation and can celebrate our successes that our families and our students and our staff is showing here every day. So thank you. And we're hoping that our technology will work.
Looks like it's coming on.
Okay, perfect.
There you go.
There it is.
Okay, so we'd like to welcome you to Cabero and Cebolleta Elementary. At this time, we have 229 students enrolled at Cabero, and there are two families that we have not been in touch with that we will be making a home visit and doing one last attempt as far as trying to reach out and get them back at school. We have 29 students at Cebolleta Elementary, and we had 100% of our parents reached at Cebolleta. Cabero, we have 40 staff members, and that includes our classroom teachers, our educational assistants, our custodians, cooks, special area teachers. And at Cebolleta, we have a total of 12 staff members that includes classroom teachers, cafeteria, EAs, secretary, and of course our shared special area staff. And so at this time, I'll start our presentation. And I might have to do something before, I'm hoping. Okay, and so if you'll see our presentation, it is set up just like a virtual classroom. All of our virtual classrooms, we have 100% of our teachers that are teaching virtually. And so their classrooms have a little bit of a uniqueness to each one of them. And so here's our presentation, and I hope you like it.
Just like birds of a feather, I won't tell no lie. All of the people around us, they say, can they be that close? Just let me state for the record, we're giving love and a family riders through the fight, rising up to the challenge of our rival. And the last known survivor stumps his spread in the night, and he's watching us now in the eye of the tiger. Rising up, straight to the top, and the guts got the glory. With the distance now, I'm not gonna stop. Just a man and his will to survive. It's the eye of the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight, rising up to the challenge of our rival. And the last known survivor stumps his spread in the night, and he's watching us now in the eye of the tiger. The eye of the tiger. Eye of the tiger. Came to rest, I was gonna have it all right. It's okay, and you may love me either way, but we can try to understand the New York Times are made from man. Whether you're a brother or whether you're another, you're staying alive, staying alive. Feel the city breaking and everybody shaking and they're staying alive, staying alive. Staying alive, staying alive. Staying alive.
And now we have a interview from one of our teachers. So again, we'll go through our virtual office and click the laptop.
So I am really enjoying the beginning of this year, actually. Kind of surprised about how easy it is to learn the kids' personalities online, learn about them and how they function. It's just a different dynamic. It's fun in a way. But something I am really impressed with is a good portion of my students have really stepped up to the plate. They're taking the initiative, some of them on their own, to reach out to me. I've had grandparents, guardians, and parents just mostly concerned about, hey, are they turning in their work? What way do we turn it in? They're asking a lot of really good questions. And even if they're frustrated, usually by the end of our conversations, someone's either laughing or smiling. You know, we get things worked out. And they're really getting it down. We're just being patient with the grading and with the timetable, everybody's personal circumstances. And I think since I've been trying really hard to reassure them and let them know that we're giving them a little bit of leeway and we're being patient, that I think it really is building rapport in a way that I've actually never seen before being in the school system. And it's really nice being on the same page as the parents. So overall, it's been a pretty enjoyable experience. You want me to stop it?
And there's our little blooper, of course, with technology not ending at the time that it should. And then we will have our student present as well.
I like learning virtually because I get to spend time with my pets and siblings while doing my work at lunch break. And my two favorite subjects to do online, because it's so much easier than in school sometimes, is ELA and math. And I also love to see my pets and friends online. Well, my friends online and my pets in life. So that's why I like online learning.
And so as you could tell, we have a lot of celebrations. We do have some challenges, as you saw through our presentation, with getting Wi-Fi connection and sticking out our hand with Miss Ontiveros. And I'm just really humbled by this experience. Even though we have some challenges and realities that we face, the collaboration, not only between our teachers, as you all saw in our presentation, but with our families and our families that are creating classroom spaces at homes and working with our teachers hand in hand. I'm just humbled by what we've been able to accomplish so far. And so thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to share the great things that are happening at both of our campuses. And I'd like to turn it over to Mrs. Ballou to see if she'd like to add on to our presentation today.
Hi. Thanks for having us tonight, and like Lisa said, letting us share our successes. And of course we have challenges, but I'm so proud of our team because as usual, they just stepped up and they're learning this virtual platform and they're doing amazing things. And so I would just like to thank everybody at Cubero and Cepoyeta for doing their very best every single day for our families. And so far, so good. So thank you.
Okay, I have a question. Ms. Hannah, what's your attendance like?
We have, it fluctuates. We have 100% of our attendance. I was teasing Mr. Steve Maldonado about our teachers turning in attendance. And so we've had 100% of our teachers turning in attendance. And we have a low rate of absenteeism because our teachers not only have Google Forms in their virtual classrooms. If the students are not checking in with their classrooms through their form, then our teachers actually call. And so we've had a pretty good attendance rate. Like I said, there's a few families that we're still reaching out to bridge that gap with their connectivity. Some of our parents don't have cell phone service, so we have to make accommodations for those parents coming down the mountain and connecting. But for overall, we have a pretty good attendance rate at this point.
How's the internet connection at both schools?
That's been the challenge. You know, there's some days that we think that it's Seb having the issue, and then I'll call Carrie and they're having the issue here at Cubero. So we try to manage. It's, of course, you know, our current situation. So we're still hoping to get an ideal connection out at Cepoyeta as far as fiber. But I think worldwide, everyone's facing the same connectivity issues, and it really depends on our family circumstances. Some families are using hotspots and they're running out at the end of the month. And so the connectivity has been the biggest challenge. But like I said, our teachers are calling, our parents are even calling home, into the office. If they're unable to connect, they'll call the office and inform us, or get a hold of us in some form or fashion to explain to us that they're having some connectivity issues. But we're working on it, and we're trying to streamline those that communication barrier that we face sometimes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any more comments from the board? Superintendent?
Yes, I'd just like to thank the team from Cubero Cebolleta. It's really nice to see that in the midst of all our challenges, you have people smiling, you have people dancing in the hallway, and really nice to have see a student smiling sincerely. You have great staff out there, and I encourage you to keep up the positivity and in moving forward. Glad to see you're meeting all the challenges too of connecting with all these students. I know we still have some a few that we're working on, but it looks like you made some great headway in connecting these kids.
Welcome aboard, Principal Hernandez.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sandoval. Thank you, board members. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, staff, Cubero and Cebolleta staff, for attending our meeting tonight. Thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving right along, who do we have next? Mickey Best?
Yeah, so Madam Chair, board members, audience this evening, Mickey, Dr. Best sends his regrets that he won't be able to make it tonight, but asked that he be put on the agenda for the next board meeting. So we can move on past that.
Okay, let's move right along. End of the year cash reports.
Okay, Madam Chair, audience, board members, the end of the year cash report is something that's done annually, and it's our due diligence and keeping the board abreast of the where our cash is after the budget spending season for FY 19-20. So Mr. Maldonado.
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Mr. Superintendent. At this time, I would like to share my screen so that you can see this presentation on the cash report. Mr. Superintendent, are you able to see my screen with that green?
Yes, sir. It's up there. We can see it.
So I'm going to first start out with an explanation of how to read this. So as Mr. Pettis said, we are required to report at the end of the year cash from the previous year. And we have many, many different funds. Some of them have zero balances, so they won't really make a difference in this report. Some are obviously have big balances, and I'm going to just go one by one. As we go through from top to bottom, you can see what we have is the ending year 6/30/18, which is the beginning of the year 7/1/19, okay, as our cash balance. And then in this row, it's the total resources on the second row after we make some additions throughout the year deposits. And then we subtract the expenses on that third row of what we've spent to give us our total cash in that fund balance. And then we might have some reconciliations to do to make sure that we have everything brought forward. And so we use that one line for that reconciliation. And then that reconciled cash balance is the balance before we might have any outstanding loans. And that the second to the last line, you might wonder, what does that mean we have loans? That it means that at sometimes we have funds, especially through federal funds, where the money doesn't come in time for us to fund that particular activity. So we have to float a loan temporarily from our general account or operational account to these other accounts in order to make sure that they zero out. And so that's why you see that there. So let's go from top to bottom on the operational fund. This is the biggest one, 11,000, often called the GO or General Operating Fund. We started the year with $10,003,123. We added enough to then bring us to the balance to different deposits, such as our monthly SEG, up to 43 million. We spent out of this fund 5,500,000, which left us 7.5 million. We reconciled some additional items in there, which brought our balance up to 8.8 million. And then because we had to, and you'll see this later on, we had to float that loan to cover these other balances so that we didn't go under in those funds. We had an ending cash balance of $6.6 million at the end of June 30th, 2020 in that 11,000 fund. 11,000 fund covers everything in operations, including teacher salary, benefits, those kinds of things, the regular operating fund of the district. Before I move on, is there any questions about how this is put together?
No.
All righty, let's move on. I'll go quickly, I promise. The teacherage are the apartment buildings. I'm sorry, does someone have a question? No.
No.
The apartment buildings, and as you can see, we ended with a fund balance of 17,033. Our transportation fund, we started the year with 11,474 in the fund balance, and then we ended the year with zero because we wanted to make sure in this particular fund, we never like to leave any balances at the end of the year. We want to make sure we use everything given to us, all right? So that we don't jeopardize what's given to us in the future. So then, if I go over here to the instructional fund, this small fund, we started the year with 134,000. We really didn't spend, we added about $5,000 or so, which gave us a fund balance of 139,000. And we carried this money over to this year just because that's the way it happened in terms of the timing of buying the instructional material. So it's perfectly fine to carry that over. And that's the fund that we carried over as of, so we ended 6/30 and we started 7/1 with that amount. In our food service, we started with 2.5 million at the top there on the 21,000 fund. We added enough to bring us to 5.5 million. We spent 4.0 million, ending cash of 1.49 million there. In the athletics, we started with 143. Our ending cash, as you can see, was 157,000. Our non-instructional fund, we ended cash with 202,708. And our federal flow through, we had a deficit of 3.2 million in terms of starting cash or ending cash and starting cash. We had deposits that brought us to 1.6 million in the black. We spent 2.9 million, which left us total cash of 1.267 million. So as you can see, we had to then add the loan from the fund balance from the 11,000 fund in order to zero out that fund. We never want to carry these funds forward with a deficit. So we loan the money, and then as we process our RFRs, which are requests for reimbursements, then we pay the money back to the operating fund. Any questions so far? All righty. So here's our federal direct funds. As you can see, just as going down the line there, we have these these other funds that are allowing us to, not through operations, but through other federal and state flow through monies. We can carry some of this money over, which we've done, as you can see. You can see also we had this loan of 529,000 here because we wanted to zero that one out. And these are some other flow through monies, other funds. I can explain them at a different time. As you can see, we still have some balances. The 31,200 and the 31,300, those are capital funds that can be used for capital projects. moving forward, it's nice to have some of this cash available as we match our bonds. We zeroed out some of these other special funds that we didn't carry through, as you can see, those HB 33 and special capital outlay funds. And then we get to SB 9, which is the very end on the right, this one right here, this column right here. And we started with a deficit of 186,000. We added deposits from the state and other sources up to bring us up to 455,000. Less expenses of $865,000, which gave us a total cash of 409 minus 409, which then we had to float a loan. That's part of that original 2.3 million that you saw at the very beginning in order to bring this to zero. Couple more pages. And then as you can see, the SB 9 local, this is the money that Mr. Lee uses on large projects. And you can see we've got a good balance, a healthy balance at the end of the year. And we have this small ed tech fund, the bigger ed tech fund. We also have to, of course, account for debt service. So we started with a healthy balance at the Wells Fargo Bank, 2.2 million. We were able to add through ad valorem taxes and other sources up to 5.3, get us up to 5.3 million. We made payments this year of 2.7 million via wire in order to cover our debt service, which left us a total cash balance of 2.6 million on the end there. And then the ed tech debt at the very end, as you can see, we have 426,000. All that to bring us to a grand total. We started with remember, this is not operation, this is all funds. So federal funds and others, okay. 19 million we started. We brought it up to 74 million. We spent 15 million. Now our ending cash there is 22. So before I close this up, I would say that our consultants, Carol and Maria, spent a considerable time. I can present these to you with a greater amount of reliability and trust that these fund balances are accurate moving forward. And I think that I know that this cash balance ending, we will be able to present to our auditor that we've made significant improvements in the accuracy, timeliness, and monitoring of our cash fund balances. I'm ready to answer any questions for anyone.
I'd like to make a couple of comments just for better understanding. The cash balances, just for general public, there's because sometimes there is a misperception that having cash at the end of the year means you have leftover money that you didn't spend and it's sitting there, which is not the case. Cash balances are intentionally held because at the turn of the school year, the amount of money has to be used to make, for example, a few payroll payouts at the end of the year. Sometimes that's a significant amount, and if you don't have that cash balance in the bank at the end of the year, that would be bad news if you couldn't make the payroll. So that's one of the areas. Sometimes we have to wait till we get reimbursed from the federal grants. That's another reason that sometimes you could actually fall a little bit short. So you got to make sure you have enough cash balance in there to be healthy at the end of the school year. So that's it's very important to keep a cash balance. I wish everybody understood how important it was, because sometimes when times get tough, one of the things that's happened in the past, and I'll just say it publicly, is that the state has gone around and swept and skimmed off the top of the cash balances from all the districts who had a healthy cash balance. I think that our cash balance for Grand Cebolla County Schools is at a good place. And we would hope that nobody would want to come and take any of the funds. We do have places to spend the money if we had to. And it is necessary, like as I just spoke about, to keep a good amount in that cash. So I just want to make that explanation because I know a lot of times it's misinterpreted as cash just left over, which it is not. The other thing I'd like to ask you, Mr. Maldonado, is can you make just a mention about our CARES Act funds that have come in, I think at 1.6 this year, and how that money was utilized?
Yes, sir. So we did get an award from the CARES Act of $1.6 million. We spent some of it in the last year, which was allowable. And we spent 400,000 of that to just in the early stages of the public health emergency and the pandemic, in order for us to sort of right the ship a little bit, we allocated $400,000 there. Then we allocated a significant amount of money towards creating of the technology in order to get to the new educational platform that was required in order for us to meet the challenge head on. So, for example, we ordered a total. So far, we've been able to distribute 1,357 Chromebooks at a cost of $489,000. We have ordered 2,951. That costs $1,057,000. We still have 1,573 to arrive. In order to meet the demands of the student body, so that everyone has a Chromebook in their hands, we still have to order 400, and we have an additional cost of $104,000. We ordered those 204 smart boards that the teachers have mentioned earlier in their presentations, and that was a $1.1 million cost. So we've spent so far $2.3 million in investment into technology, of which much of it was covered, or some of it was covered through the CARES Act. But as you can see, the burn rate through that CARES Act is pretty fast. And so we are anticipating another that coming through sometime early next year, at least that's what's hoped and promised. So far, we've made an investment of $712.16 per student for every single student in the district. And so as Mr. Perez mentioned about the cash, needing the cash, we were very lucky that we had some of this cash available here in order for us to fund these purchases, either through operations or through various other sources. And so, as you can see, it can go pretty fast. So does that address your question, Mr. Perez?
Yes, thank you.
I have a question. Mr. Maldonado, thank you and your staff for your hard work there in finance. My question is, how are our findings from our last audit coming, and are they being corrected as we speak?
Okay, wonderful question. So those findings are still there, and we did put together, as you've seen before, pretty significant corrective action plans. We moved on quite significantly. Mr. Perez keeps my feet to the fire on those because we want to make sure that we're making progress there. Okay. And our next audit starts on September 21st. So I will tell you that one positive outcome of making progress on those findings is that when we went back to Moody's to get our credit rating, you may remember that we had a negative outlook comment on that credit rating. And because of the work of the staff and others, and when we had our conference with Moody's, they were happy to remove that because we've made such significant progress on those 26 findings. So that's one positive outcome of that, is that they removed that particular negative comment for us. Didn't change our rating, but it improved our outlook and improved how creditors look at us.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? I just have one question for you, Mr. Maldonado.
Yes.
Where are we in providing 100% what would you call laptops for all our students. Are we still awaiting a back order, or have we reached at least 90% of them?
Well, I know that Ms. Sanchez has a full report on the distribution. I will say that my last conversation with our supplier indicated October 1st was the earliest date for delivering on the Chromebooks. And so that's not going to change given the global issues with trade and the issues in China. I will say, though, that the plan that Mr. Perez came up with to distribute the desktops so that at least we get technology in their hands in the interim, I think has been able to resolve some issues and has begun to mitigate some of the larger problems until we get those laptops in. But I know that Ms. Perez is going to, Ms. Sanchez is going to cover that in greater detail.
Report on that?
Yes, sure.
Oh, okay.
Share on reentry.
Okay, any more questions? Thank you, Mr. Maldonado. I would have to say that this is the first time I've seen this kind of report made, and I really appreciate the detail that you went through. And I know that there's always going to be questions regarding the funding and the expenditures, but I really appreciate your detailed report. Thank you very much. Moving right along, Superintendent.
Yes, sir, Madam Chair, members of the board, moving on to action items. The first action item is an agreement between the owner and contractor for construction services for Laguna Acoma High School baseball, softball complex. I do recommend approval of this action item. And we have, if there are any questions, I have Mr. Vance Lee is on for questions. Would you like to give a quick overview, Mr. Lee?
Sure, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Perez. This is an agreement, a contract between the school district and a general contractor for the completion of a synthetic turf baseball, softball field at Laguna Acoma High School. We had 3 bidders, one of which was disqualified. The other 2 went through the full process of request for proposal, technical, price, and then we interviewed both. And through that work, we narrowed it down to one contractor. And we're asking tonight that you approve the contract. If you'll remember, there is some money from the Impact Aid Capital Improvement Fund that will assist in the paying for this project.
And do we have a start date and ended date for this? When the work will begin?
I'm sorry, what was that?
A start date and an ending date when it'll be completed?
The start date could be tomorrow, and then the end date will be, it's in the contract as February 15th. Of 2021.
Thank you for clarifying that. Do we have any questions from the board?
No, I'd like to make a motion to accept as presented.
We have a motion to accept the bid as recommended by Mr. Lee. Do I have a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Okay, we have a second. Ron, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Lee. Mr. Superintendent?
Yeah, next up is an action item. This action item is for Laguna Acoma High School baseball, softball scoreboard installation. I do recommend approval of this action.
Do we have any questions from the board? Do we have a motion?
So move.
Motion made by Deanne Sandoval, second.
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Seconded by Mr. Ortiz. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next,
Next up, Madam Chair, board members, the action item. This one is for the Grants High School baseball, softball scoreboard installation. I do recommend approval of this action item.
I'd like to make a motion to accept.
okay. Motion by Mr. Sandoval. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Ortiz. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Madam Chair, more members of the board, the next action item is for HVAC and ventilation replacement at Grants High School. I do recommend approval of this action item.
Do I have a motion?
So move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Was that you, Deanne, that made the?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Lee, for all the hard work on that. It's a long time in coming, and I appreciate that we were able to get this done. Now, let's just see, we're going to be able to use the facilities somewhere down the road.
Yeah, most definitely. Thanks, Vance. We greatly appreciate it. I know Coach Walter Severino is probably ecstatic right now.
Thank you for the opportunity to serve the district.
I know some of the past coaches are probably saying, why did they do that when I was here? But we appreciate all the hard work. Moving right along.
Madam Chair, members of the board, the consent agenda, I recommend that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll move tonight to approve the consent agenda.
Do we have a motion by Mr. Ortiz? Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Sandoval. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent.
Okay, Madam Chair, members of the board, audience, before I get into the two items listed, just a very quick brief on some various topics. Yesterday had a predetermination hearing with the U.S. Department of Education, and that is a lawsuit contending that we would like more of our impact aid funds directly to the districts. There are 4 districts that were involved in this hearing and requesting the hearing, and that is Grant Cebolla County Schools, Gallup-McKinley County Schools, Zuni Public Schools, and Central Consolidated Schools. So that we had a meeting facilitated by the U.S. Department of Ed and the Public Education Department and those 4 school districts. And of course, there were several other school districts online observing the hearing, a predetermination hearing. There's actually the next piece to that is the hearing with a judge involved tomorrow, in which all those same districts will be participating. So that's a quick update on that in case anything's heard about our work with the impact aid funds. Another announcement I think is important because this is we just recently found out late yesterday, early today, that the USDA has approved lunches for students. So the change is now we get to serve all students under the age of up to 18 in our community, and they do not have to be GCCS students. So I think that's a big support to the community. I know that we got the message out as best we could first round this morning. I think that's good news to a lot of people who would like to take advantage of the the breakfast lunch program. So well, I wanted to get that out to the public now. Another issue that's come to my attention is the access to the Grants High School football field for walking. I'd just like to inform the public that Mr. Lee is working on getting a card system there so that anyone who would like to utilize the field would go through a process where they'd have their identification picture taken and a swipe card. And of course, we'll have cameras out at the field to make sure that it's treated respectfully, and we take good care of it for the to make sure that it's in good shape for its intended use for the students. So those are just a few quick updates. The big thing tonight is re-entry. Before I go into that, we'll give some details on how things have evolved to this point. We will reconvene the re-entry team based on the last experiences. We'll include teachers in this next round of re-entry discussions. And we will make sure that we have liaisons from our different stakeholder groups and make sure that that is strong so that we have communication going out in a proper way. So that leads into some of the reentry work that's being done. As you all know, everything's changed week by week. The world around us, these districts surrounding us, it's not an easy task. But as I told us, the school here, we're making it work in the best way we can. And there is not any perfect decisions in this, but when we work together, there are best decisions. And that's what we're working towards, is finding the best decisions possible for the safety of our students and staff, and for the education and health and well-being of our students and staff. So that being said, there's a lot that goes on in the public on TV.
They must have finally
There's a lot that goes on in the public around us, in the news and so on and so forth. And we have to sift through a lot of information to make good decisions. And we also have some parameters that we have to work within by our public education authorities. So that being said, when we first started the reentry plan, we proposed a 30-day checkpoints, right? We're approaching that 30-day point, but I think there's a misunderstanding there, where it does not necessarily mean that at 30 days we make a decision and move to the next hybrid model or so on and so forth. What we're doing at this 30-day check is looking at all the data and information around us. We sent out a community and the staff survey about a week ago, and we'll share the results with you in just a few minutes. But I'd like to make a few comments about that before it's shared. As the way things are evolving, even since we put that survey out and got the results back in, you'll see how the results will expose themselves here. But that was a week ago. And as I've been out to schools and talking to teachers and principals and parents around the community, I personally have see a shift, where there's some things that we believed 2 weeks ago that have changed already today, because this being new to all of us. I think our district dove into this August 10th, and I think that I'm glad we did, as I've stated before, because we've learned a lot. So in that, we're in the 4th week now. In those first couple of weeks, the first 3 weeks, we've learned that We learned, like as was stated, a lot about technology. We've also learned about the some of the struggles, not internet connectivity and not device issues, but we're starting to realize the issues of social emotional challenges and the health and well-being and mental things that are cropping up because of change. And in my conversations today with a few teachers at Mount Taylor, even as recently as just a while ago, I'm starting to see that there's a craving to get some of the students back to the classroom, at least to some degree. I'd like to add to that I think that we've been very smart about being methodical and being careful and not jumping into any type of a model too quickly. So I think that our reentry plan still stands as presented, but we also have gotten news from from the state that after Labor Day we can begin to bring students in a certain population of students. So far, there's not allowing any secondary students. That includes mid-school or high school students in class at this point. We're still waiting on final words with at-risk students. There is allowance for early grades, pre-K through 6 students to come in at a limited capacity. So we're not making any decisions tonight because the board is not prepared, and we still have a lot of information and data to sift through, and we still have stakeholder groups and parents and folks that we need to continue to work with as we move towards a decision. The first quarter ends on I believe the 15th. The new quarter starts October 19th. I would like to just plant the seed that we continue to do our research and homework so that if we make changes, that we make them at that time on October 19th. That's about 6 weeks away. And that would give us a good amount of time to see how things evolve more. And also give us some hope that we can start bringing our students in a logical way and an organized fashion and have all of our safety protocols in place. We all know that when we start bringing students back in, that we will be prepared to have to stop if we get cases, but we'll be prepared. As you can see, we'll be prepared on the online method of education. We should be well versed in that at that time. But I think we all agree that we've got to start bringing some students back into to the schools in some way, shape, and form. So that's what I will, just to give people a heads up, that's what I will be proposing to the board during our board meetings in September, coming up soon, and then get ready to maybe have a change in our delivery of education at the next quarter. This is not easy decisions. We take them very seriously. We know that no matter what decision we make, it's not going to satisfy everybody's needs, but we'll work through. I just like to make a very clear that when we do make a decision, that parents, communities still have the option and will continue to have the option to remain online and stay on the virtual path through the school year if needed. So that's it. Just making those comments. As you'll see, some of the information that we'll be working through, you'll see in the next few minutes. I'd also want to make you aware that because I've noticed that shift in the survey that we sent out a week and a half ago till now, I will be sending out another survey, similar survey, asking similar questions, but to get another sense of if there is in fact a shift and what the community is leaning towards, what our staff is leaning towards, and also keeping close tabs with our medical professionals as we weave through this world of unknowns. So with that, Madam Chair, I'd like to have Dr. Martin share the survey results of this last round. Oh, I think you'd be okay. You'd be okay. Yeah.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Perez. This survey was made available on the district website on August 20th to the 28th. And here are the results. So there were 166 respondents. This is the survey for staff and teachers of Grand Cibola County Schools. There were 166 responses that we got for this particular survey. And here's the breakdown of the teachers and staff who participated. The majority of those who participated were grades 9 to 12 teachers, followed by grades 3 to 6 teachers. And then we have our educational assistants and our grades 1 to 2 teachers, and others being 5th in ranking. On the question on whether they have a child or they have children attending one of the schools in GCCS, 47.6% said yes, and 44% said no. Not applicable means they don't have children or a child or children attending GCCS. So important to note that about 50% of our staff actually have a student attending GCCS. On how they felt, on the statement that students have the proper computer or device to connect to their teacher, 32.5% or 54 of the 166 respondents felt strongly agree to that statement. Important thing to note is that on this particular question, the responses were on the positive side. 21.7% agreed, 24.7% were neutral, 10.2% strongly disagree, and 10.8% disagree. Please feel free to ask questions whenever you have one. Madam Chair, members of the board. The next one, students have the proper internet connection and Wi-Fi to operate properly with the classroom. This is a bell curve, as everyone can see. 15.1% strongly disagree, 22.3% disagree, 30.1%, a majority are in the neutral, 16.3% agree, and 16.3% strongly agree. Students have a comfortable place at home to work online without distractions. Again, a bell curve leaning towards the positive side. 22.9% strongly agree, 21.1% agree, 30.7% neutral, and 14.5 disagree, and 10.8 strongly disagree. Students have the proper internet services and ability to keep those services throughout the school year. 16.3 strongly disagree, 22.9% disagree, 27.7% neutral, 15.1 agree, and 18.1 strongly agree.
Let me ask a question. Now that we're surveying teachers with students or staff with students at GCCS in some capacity. And so do these staff, well, they must know what avenues to go to if something happens to their connectivity or a laptop, or they have connections to find services. Okay.
Students have electricity at home. Students have electricity in my home and the ability to keep that services throughout the school year. Again, a majority on the positive side on this particular one. Students have someone to call or get assistance from if a child has technology or computer problems. As we can see, it's also strongly on the positive side of the spectrum. At this time, and considering all the current circumstances, I feel, so the majority of the answers are 28.3% comfortable at work if the proper safety precautions are taken. The second one was 23.5% comfortable being at work without hesitation. The third one is 8.1% fearful of being at work because of the information about the virus. And the fourth one being 15.1% uncomfortable being at work because the information about because of information about the virus. Important thing to know, more than half are comfortable.
This is quite a change from when we first started. If I remember correctly, we saw quite a number that were not wanting to come back to work. And now we feel they're a little bit more comfortable.
The families and the students I know about have the appropriate social and emotional support needed to be successful in school during this time. Again, leaning towards the positive side. Staff and colleagues that I associate with have the appropriate social and emotional support needed to be successful at work during this time, strongly on the positive side. If given a choice, I would choose that the district utilize the blank option for the remainder of the semester. 62% says fully online virtual learning. Hybrid is 18.1%. Normal face-to-face is 19.9%. I am able to get the appropriate levels of exercise and fresh air as needed during this time. Majority said yes. I have the necessary materials and equipment available to do my job effectively. 78.3% said yes. And that's it for the staff survey. So let me go ahead and pull up the community survey really quick.
Just a quick question.
Yes, sir.
On the 21.7%, why is it that they're not happy with the equipment? Are they not getting equipment? They're not getting materials?
We don't, Madam Chair, Mr. Ortiz, the not having the proper equipment to do a good job, I think that's the one.
Right.
We don't have the specifics on that. This is like the general, so we'd have to dig in deeper and find out why.
I just,
Yeah, it's a good question, you know, but
It might have like
Various
a
reasons.
jetpack, maybe teachers that are working from home in a remote area. We'll need that internet again.
Okay, let me go ahead and share the community survey. So like the staff survey, this was made available August 20 to the 28th of this year. Please choose one that most closely describe your relationship with the district. 89, almost 90%, so 89.4% are parents and guardians, 8.2% are staff member and parents, are staff members that are parents. I have a child or children attending one of the GCCS of the schools at GCCS in 98.6 said yes. My child or children are in grades, so majority of the respondents have children who are in grades 9 through 12. That's 45.2% of the respondents, followed by grades 7 to 8, which is 27.3%. So you can see the percentages of each grade level that responded to the survey. My child or children have the proper computer or device to connect to their teacher. 85.8% of the community said yes. My child or children have the proper internet connections and Wi-Fi to operate properly in the classroom. 79.8% said yes, and 18.2% said no. My child or children have the comfortable place at home to work online without distractions. 84.5%. Majority said yes. I have the proper internet services and the ability to keep those services throughout the school year. 79.6% said yes. 20.4% said no. I have the electricity in my home and the ability to keep that service throughout the school year. 98.4% said yes. I have someone to call to get assistance from if my child has technology and computer problems. 63.8% said yes. 33.8% said no. If needed, I have the transportation to take my child to the nearest school to upload and download information through Wi-Fi. 78% said yes. 15.6% said no. At this time, so this is how parents, how the community feels about the statement. At this time, and considering the current circumstances, I prefer. So the biggest percentage, 31.1%, is having my child at home all the time, followed by 29.5%, which is keeping my child at home with online learning throughout the next several weeks. And then the third one is 16%, having my child at school all the time through the fall. If schools remain closed to most students, but the state allows a few students to come to school, I would be willing to have my child transported to their school. 50.2% said no, 45.3% said yes. I am willing to send my child back to school in person when the state and district allows it. 49.5% said yes, 45.4% said no. My child is doing okay at home without the socialization and seeing his or her friends in person on a regular basis. 59.3% said yes, 36.6% said no. My child has the necessary school supplies to participate in school every day, each day. 91.3% said yes. My child has been getting exercise and fresh air on a regular basis. 83.1% said yes. 14.5% said no. My child has food and appropriate nutrition available to him or her each and every day. 95.7% said yes. And that's all there is in the survey, Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Perez. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them.
Board members?
And
I have one question on that page 9 out of 19, where if I have someone to call or get assistance, if my child has technology or computer problems, how can we improve that percentage? Right now it says 63.8%. What can we do to improve that?
I think right now there's going to be parts of that are going to resolve themselves, just because it's such a flood of new devices, and it's a flood of new information that as each day goes by and we connect another family, then that number is going to go down. We are asking the families to connect with the school, call the school. I think every school has a place or a person to recommend a phone call to. We have discussed a helpline, but we haven't got to the point of staffing that yet. But right now it's directed to the school sites and anybody that can help at schools. Also, technology has been a big help. I have to say that Renee Sanchez, Roseanne Pascual, Bernadette Gonzalez, and others, Delton, as Dr. Martin, have all been a big help in fielding some of those calls. But I think the calls are getting a little bit fewer. We still have a lot of work to do out there, but there is help out there. Sometimes not immediate as people would like, but we're trying to get that, make sure that everybody has enough information to get connected at least.
And I think, speaking with Roseanne, if there becomes a time where we can reach out to the community to help us find the students, because we have, especially on the reservations, we have tribal officials, Merumas who might know where the family is. I know I located one, and he had just simply moved from one village to the next village, and so I'll let Roseanne know that. Actually, he reached out and emailed to the teacher, and so the teacher responded and asked him, "Where are you? If the district office is looking for you." So hopefully he did manage to call Roseanne or somebody who doesn't know where he was at.
And Madam Chair, I'd like to add to that. We also have connected with the Engage on New Mexico, and it's a PED support group. So they're helping us also get out and knock on doors, so to speak, to help us get these students connected. But Ms. Sanchez is waiting on deck to share some of that kind of information.
I think we also have, do we have liaisons? I know Miss, I think of her name, Kai,
Diane.
not her daughter, Kristen Riley.
Good.
She's the liaison for that area. She might be a unique person to reach out to. She probably knows that where everybody lives. So, and then I think Acoma has Leslie Vaya, they can reach out to. Okay, good, thank you.
And we've been getting a lot of help from Mr. Ray.
Oh, good.
Mr. Sean Ray.
Good.
So if I can, I'd like board members, Madam Chair, to shift to Ms. Renee Sanchez to share some information. Are you on, Renee?
Yes, good evening, members of the board, Madam Chair, Superintendent Perez. So there's a lot of information on the reentry. The exciting thing that we're seeing, just a little glimpse of what we saw the Mesa View and Cubero. The highlight of Mesa View was academic achievement, and another highlight of Cubero is that student engagement and 100% connection. So Madam Chair, you talked about getting connected with everybody and decreasing our numbers. At this moment in time, the calls, as we go into week 3, as we get deeper, the calls are diminishing day by day. It's still a heavy amount of calls, but they are decreasing, like Mr. Perez mentioned, as we resolve one challenge at a time. As far as connectivity and the progress of Chromebooks being delivered out, so far, the current progress, we've delivered 1,357 computers, which has given a one-to-one device for grades 6 through 12. We have yet to arrive, about 1,573 are arriving. But in between that, we have the contingency plan of lending laptops out to students and desktops. With that, we had to order about 550 cameras to accommodate those, the contingency plan. And that gave devices for grades K through 12. The ones in need, we had to prioritize because a lot of students already had a device. But at this moment in time, we're looking at 85% of our students connected with a device, which brings in the last order of 400 more Chromebooks, which would give the district a total of 3,351 Chromebooks, which is a one-to-one device for pre-K through 12. We're hoping to have that complete by October. In the meantime, we're taking on one piece of the puzzle at a time. We're looking at continued work with our graduating seniors. That's a place to start because now they're down to maybe 165 days left that we're on week 3. And Mr. Perez did mention another parameter we're using is Engage New Mexico and the Graduation Alliance. We're sending in names. We worked with them in March, and that team alone made over 900 phone calls, and they stayed coaching some seniors until they graduated, and juniors and sophomores as they move towards credit recovery. They also helped some elementary students just get motivated, and some middle school students continue the motivation because we keep sending them names of students that falter in attendance. When I look at our attendance rate, I could pull that up or just do an overview. For this week on attendance, right now, our total for current attendance as of Friday, August 28th, we have 2,696 students attending with 578 that were absent. We have a 17% absentee rate, and then our average is about 16%. When we look at attendance, it really matches the number of connectivity issues that we're trying to work on, with 86% being absent. We have the same amount needing some type of support with a jetpack or other devices to get 100% of our students covered. In the meantime, there are some phenomenal contingency plans that each principal has put into place in order to connect with the students and get them their instruction. The other piece of the puzzle that we're really working on is the accountability of attendance, being that we have almost 85% connected with a full device, and we're looking at when they're absent and they have all their devices, how do we keep them accountable? And so the principals are working as we progress towards progress reports. It did another motivation to students to keep online, especially with the secondary. As I was walking into classrooms, the secondary teachers were showing me the change after a progress report that, you know, we're working hard towards achieving our academic goals. And once the students start seeing that they're being held accountable to our instruction, it starts to shift in attendance. So overall, our attendance has been steady. We have a lot of support teams within each site working on connecting with the students. For example, Mesa View just presented how they're doing some home visits I walked into Mesa View just last week, and I did see that family, and they were working tremendously hard out there in the parking lot. You know, they were very motivated. And then as I visited the classrooms, I saw some of the young teachers just doing an overall phenomenal performance. With that, we're still facing the current realities of challenges. You walk through the hallways, yes, you want to see a student, but when you look at the surveys and the fear of parents, as I talk to some of the parents today, I talk to parents daily and hear their stories, they're very happy knowing that our district is offering a choice of remaining virtual. So either direction that we go, we keep building our capacity of online learning. I'm seeing the capacity at a stage where a lot of us have to build a new stamina, and the teachers and principals are reaching a point where some have built the stamina and are ready to keep on going, and some are just reaching some frustrational points as they are teaching. But if you look at 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks, we've come a long way since March, and there's a new stamina that I see with students and teachers where you see that positive twist. As Cubero and Mesa View and the other principals, you see that positive twist is overpowering the negativity. That doesn't mean we ignore the negativity or the challenges. We need to take on, and those students that we're looking at, the ones that I talk about, the 556 that are absent, where the principals have a full plan in place where every teacher has to connect with students that are absent. And a lot of times when they exhaust every effort, myself, Roseanne, and a district team, along with a support team at the site levels, are finding ways to connect. So the initiatives that we've put in place continue. The family and community communication is getting stronger. And as we continue, I'm hearing teachers say, and they talk about this a lot, we're gonna keep engaging with our families. This new phenomena has put us together in a different way, and we wanna keep that engagement going because it has strengthened a different level of capacity with our students and families because we're enduring a lot of the challenges together. So with that, we're looking at, monitoring the technology closely, of attendance rates. And for the most part, what I see teachers doing over and over is checking that social emotional learning. And they're not doing it by themselves, they're doing it with a team. So I applaud the team efforts of GCCS staff. I have a lot of details, a lot more details on our numbers. I can share them with you and go down to the granular level. But I stand for questions.
Madam Chair, just to point out, just to add a little bit. So she mentioned the 400 Chromebooks. Those have been ordered. And also the cameras and mics. They've been distributed the last couple of days, so those did come in. So we should not have any devices without a camera or a microphone at this time.
Renee, it was also my understanding that if there was a particular family in need, that we even contemplate giving them a desktop from one of our computer labs. Was that, did that happen, or are we?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have delivered some desktops. They're all ready to go, and the principals have a schedule. If not, they've already began delivering desktop and a desk to the students, mostly to kinder through 2. Those are the ones that we had taken apart the computer labs at 4 of the sites, and which will give a device for everyone as a contingency plan. Everyone in need at this point in time will have a device. As we receive the other devices coming in that Mr. Pettis mentioned, we'll replace with a Chromebook. But in the meantime, they're gonna get a desktop set up with a desk. Yes.
Okay, so, but most of the Chromebooks did have mics and cameras on them? Or
yes.
The Chromebooks do, but when we give out the, Madam Chair, when we're distributing these other devices like the desktops,
The laptop.
A lot of them don't have the mics built in. And then also we found that we needed several for the smart boards as well. So.
All right. Any other questions, board? No? I applaud your efforts, Ms. Sanchez. I know it hasn't always been easy, and I know because of the ruralness of our district and widespread territory of where our students live and reside, that you do have your work cut out for you. But if we can reach out to the communities that maybe might know where a student might be, surely we can count on our school family to help us reach out to those that we just can't seem to locate, or maybe they don't have communication. I don't know, but we'd like to reach as many, all our students. And whether we get to 100%, down the road maybe, but I really applaud your efforts for doing that. Particularly reach out to our connections with the different, I don't know, we have one with the Navajo Nation, a liaison, but I think each tribe has appointed somebody to reach out to help them locate some of these families and keep them informed. And keep posting things on the district website. I know there's one point that it was said that our websites were outdated, and hopefully we got the message out to all our schools to update their websites so that the information is fresh and current, so that they're not getting outdated information. So I think that would be another way we could reach them. When I check the websites, I always make sure that I look at that, the information that's been posted. Thank you very much. Board members, any other comments for Ms. Sanchez?
No, just, you know what, thank you, Renee, and thanks to all the staff out there. And thanks, the presentations tonight. I always enjoy those. I enjoy seeing what's going on at all the different schools. And I applaud all of your efforts. I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Just keep up the good work, and I hope you guys have a happy and safe holiday this coming weekend.
Also, thank you, Renee, for all the work you do. I want to thank all our staff also here at the district for all the hard work. And I know it's a challenge. It's a challenge for everyone. I applaud you for taking care of our students and educating them. Thank you very much.
Same with you, Dr. Martin. I know you're behind a lot of that data and stuff that's being loaded, and thank you for that. I'm really pleased that we're having more responses from the community, and so that they're taking the time to work with us, so that we can, the more that they work with us, the more better coverage we can give their students. And that's all, that we can ask for. But thank you, Renee, good job.
Yes, and thank you, Dr. Martin, the man behind the scenes. We do appreciate you.
Okay, moving right along, Superintendent.
That's all I have, Madam Chair, Board.
Okay, so let's look at the announcements are there. I think we had a couple of changes. What did you say about October Indigenous People Day was the
October 12th.
October 12th. Okay. And then we have Cultural Day on the 2nd. Tomorrow. And don't forget September 11th. It's coming up soon. It's a day that we need to look at and take time to remember. So let's see, you can look at the announcements. September 17th, Labor Day, September 28th, Professional Development Day, October 12th, Indigenous People Day, Wednesday, October 14th, the NMSBA Fall Regional Virtual Meeting. If there's any information or items that you want on the future agenda, please contact Dr. Archambault and Mr. Perez, so we can add those to the agenda. I would just like to make a note, because I see a lot of participants, and I think we've made this announcement before that we're not trying to prohibit people from joining our meetings. In fact, we encourage you to zoom in on us, but we need to know your name so that we protect the security of our Zoom meetings. So if you just Zoom in with like laptop or somebody's iPhone, you know, it's hard to make that decision to let you in on the meeting. So we would appreciate, you know, for you, those joining us, to give us a name so that we can let you in and you can share the information. At this time, any other information? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
No, move to adjourn.
A motion made by Ron. Second, do I hear a second? Do I hear a second, Mr. Sandoval? Did he leave us? Why not?
He's muted.
You need to unmute, Dion. Or unmute him, Jim.
We had that issue on his one board meeting.
Can you show your picture and raise your hand that you're doing the second? I don't think I can second my own motion.
Emily, can you hear me?
Yes.
I keep going in and out. I'm sorry.
Okay, we've got a motion to adjourn by Ron. We need a second.
I'm ready to stay here all night.
Okay.
Second. Good night.
Thank you very much, and good night, everyone. Have a good, safe time, and everybody stay safe out there.